The champagne had just been poured when Rachel stood up, tapping her glass with a fork like she was about to toast our son. Parker was grinning, half embarrassed. Surrounded by cousins and classmates in jackets they barely bothered to iron. It was supposed to be his night. Then she opened her mouth. "I need to say something," Rachel said, her voice too steady. "I've decided to leave Doug. This will be my last night with this family." Forks dropped. Someone gasped behind me. Parker's face went from smug to stunned in about 2 seconds flat. I didn't even look at her. I just stared at my plate, waiting for the silence to stretch out enough that she'd feel it wrap around her neck. Across the table, my brother leaned over and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded once. I wasn't going to give her a scene. That's what she wanted. I stood up slow, took my napkin off my lap, and said, "Well, congrats, Rachel. You sure know how to make a night about yourself." She didn't flinch. She probably rehearsed it. Then I looked past her, to the corner table near the buffet. There he was, Evan, tight black polo shirt, arms crossed, fake smiling, with a few guys I used to shoot pool with. One of them had the nerve to raise a glass toward me. I didn't raise mine back. Instead, I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a sealed envelope, walked around the table, handed it to her. "Read that later, alone," I said. "It's not a love letter." Before she could speak, I turned to Parker. I raised my glass. "To my son," I said, loud enough for the whole damn room. Smart, grounded, and too good to be anyone's second thought. "I'm proud of you, kid." Parker blinked, then nodded. I downed the rest of my drink, set the glass on the table, and walked out of the country club without looking back. Outside, the air was still humid from the afternoon storm. I heard heels clicking fast behind me, then Rachel's voice. "Doug, wait." I didn't stop walking. Inside that envelope, court notice, filed 2 weeks ago, and full documentation showing she'd been siphoning money from my brother's business using a fake vendor account. So yeah, she made her announcement, and I made mine. I pulled into the driveway a little before 10. Porch light was still on. The house looked just like it always did. Clean siding, trimmed hedges, shutters I hung myself. I'd built that garage with my own damn hands the summer Parker turned 13. Back then, Rachel used to bring me lemonade while I worked. Lately, all she brought was attitude and Zillow listings. She'd been hinting about selling for months. "It's too much space," she'd say. "We could downsize, move closer to the city." She meant closer to Evan. I just didn't know that part yet. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the kitchen. Same tile floor I installed, same cabinets we fought over at Home Depot. I stood there for a second, just taking it in. Everything looked the same, but everything had already changed. 6 months ago, I noticed the first transfer. It was small, just under $200, from one of the secondary business accounts I managed for my brother's contracting firm. At first, I thought it was a system glitch. Then it happened again, different amount, different day, always just below the reporting threshold. That's when I started digging. See, most people don't know what to look for, but I do. I handle books for my brother's company, and I've chased down shady subcontractors before. Fake invoices, ghost vendors, I've seen it all. This one was slick, though. A company called Pioneer Logistics, billing for consultation fees. But there was no address, no contact info, nothing but an account number buried in the vendor list. So I traced the payments, followed the account link, and boom, Evan's name showed up on a rental application tied to the withdrawals. They'd signed a lease on a loft downtown, 1,800 square feet, exposed brick, rooftop access. Lease started the day after Parker's graduation. Rachel used my brother's company funds as a down payment. I wanted to puke. That was the night I stopped asking questions and started prepping for war. Over the next month, I pulled every bank statement, every invoice. I made copies, had them notarized, locked them in a safe. I hired a lawyer out of Cincinnati. Guy's a pit bull, doesn't blink unless there's blood. We filed the fraud claim first, divorce second. Then I froze every account with my name on it. Joint checking, savings, equity line, locked up tight. She wouldn't see it coming. That was the point. I walked into the living room, flipped on the lamp. The couch was still fluffed, TV remote right on the armrest, like she'd left it that morning. For a second, I half expected her to walk in and say, "You're late." But she wasn't coming back here, not tonight. I'd already talked to the locksmith. New deadbolts go in tomorrow. I sat down, looked around at the house I'd built. I didn't just pay for this place. I wired it, tiled it, patched every goddamn crack. She thought she could gut it out from under me like some H-Juice TV scam artist. Nah. I leaned back on the couch and pulled out my phone, opened my files, scrolled through the folder labeled Divorce Prep, and double-checked the timestamps. The case was airtight. Let her play house with her little trainer boyfriend. Let her think she pulled one over on me. By the time she reads that envelope, it'll already be too late. I heard Parker's car pull in a little after 11. He didn't slam the door, didn't stomp his way in like I expected. Just walked in slow, head down, like the kid had aged 10 years in one night. He stopped in the kitchen doorway. So, that really happened? I nodded. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to find out like that. He pulled out a chair and sat down across from me, his leg bouncing. I don't get it. You and Mom always seemed solid. Like, not perfect, but stable. I rubbed the back of my neck. We were good at acting like it, I guess. He stared at the table for a second. She said she's been disconnected for a while, whatever that means. I leaned forward. Look, I'm not going to trash your mom, Parker, but I will tell you this. What she did tonight wasn't sudden. She's been planning it. He blinked. You knew? I had my suspicions, been prepping for a few weeks now. He leaned back like the air got knocked out of him. Man, she gave Evan a smartwatch last week. Said it was a thank you for helping her train. Thought it was weird, but I didn't think she was... He cut himself off and looked away. She didn't even get me anything for graduation. My jaw clenched. I stood up, grabbed 2 glasses, poured us each some water. Your college fund's untouched. That account's locked tight under my name. This house? Not going anywhere. You've got nothing to worry about. He didn't answer right away. Just took the glass and nodded. My phone buzzed on the counter. Rachel. I turned it face down. He looked up. You gonna talk to her? Nope. We sat in silence for a bit, the fridge humming in the background like it was trying to fill in the awkward. Then my phone buzzed again. Different number. This one I checked. Message from my lawyer. Motion went through, injunction's active. She's locked out financially until hearing. I showed it to Parker without saying a word. He read it, then passed it back. Good, he said, flat. I got up and walked toward the hallway, stopping at the coat closet. You good if I crash early? Long-ass day. Yeah, he said, standing up too. I'll sleep on the couch. You don't have to. I want to. I nodded. Blankets are in the chest. I left him there and went upstairs, but I didn't go to bed. Instead, I grabbed a couple boxes from the attic and started clearing out her side of the closet. Her shoes, purses, yoga crap, stuff I hadn't touched or cared about in months. I didn't slam anything, didn't throw a tantrum, just moved. Box after box, carried down the stairs, out to the garage, set everything by the door like a delivery no one ordered. I didn't feel sad. I felt done. I had just finished stacking the last of her boxes near the garage when I heard tires screech outside. Headlights cut across the front window, then a car door slammed hard enough to rattle the glass. She didn't knock. She barged in. Are you out of your mind? Rachel's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. You froze everything. My cards aren't working. The bank said there's a hold. I didn't even flinch. Correct. She stormed into the kitchen, eyes wild, hair still done up like she was trying to look calm and composed. She wasn't pulling it off. You seriously filed a motion? Froze our accounts? What the hell are you doing, Doug? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Making sure you don't spend another dime that doesn't belong to you. Her mouth dropped open. You're acting like I stole something? You did steal something. Don't play dumb. She laughed. Sharp, fake, loud. That prenup is 20 years old. You think that's still gonna hold up? I walked to the drawer, pulled out a manila folder, flipped it open, and tapped the second page. Clause 14. Financial misconduct voids any claim to shared assets. You signed it. So did I. Still holds. She reached for it, and I slid it just out of reach. You want to live your new life with Evan? Go right ahead, I said. But you don't get to fund it with money you siphoned through my brother's business. Her voice dropped low, venom in every syllable. You think a judge is going to believe you? You're a contractor, Doug. I'll take you to court. I'll drag this out. I smiled. See you there. She stepped closer, eyes narrowing. You're being cold, vindictive. This is our life you're throwing away. Before I could respond, I heard the stairs creak behind me. Parker stood there, halfway down, hoodie on, barefoot. He looked right at her. "You lied to me?" Rachel froze. "Honey, I didn't lie. You gave him a watch, a week before my graduation. Then you stood up in front of everybody and humiliated Dad. Now you're here yelling about money?" "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," she said, voice cracking now. "I was trying to protect..." "Protect who?" Parker's voice was dead flat. "Evan?" She looked at me, then back at Parker. "Can we just talk, without all this?" "No," I cut in. "There's nothing left to talk about." She wiped at her cheek, but no tears came. "You're turning him against me." "No, you did that yourself." She looked around the room like she didn't recognize it anymore, like somehow the place she tried to walk out of now had walls she couldn't climb. "I want to come get my things," she said, softer now. "They're in the garage, labeled. Nothing's missing." She swallowed hard. "You're seriously kicking me out like I'm some criminal?" "You are. You just haven't been charged yet." That one landed. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't speak. Parker stepped down to the last stair. "You should go." Rachel's mouth moved like she was going to say something, but nothing came out. She grabbed her keys off the table and stormed toward the door. When it slammed shut behind her, the whole house seemed to exhale. Parker didn't say anything for a long time. Then he looked at me. "You good?" he asked, getting there. I walked to the back door, flicked on the garage light. "Come help me move her stuff to the curb." By the time Parker and I hauled the last box to the curb, I couldn't stand to be in that house another minute. The quiet felt poisoned, like every wall still echoed something she said when she thought I wasn't listening. So I grabbed a duffel, locked up, and drove 20 minutes to Jenny's place. She had the porch light on before I even pulled in. "Figured you'd show up," she said, holding the screen door open in her nightgown, hair pulled back in one of those wide fabric bands she wore when she was pissed off and wanted everyone to know it. "Hope I'm not crashing too late." "You're fine. Couch is made up. Whiskey's in the cabinet." I dropped my bag by the stairs and followed her into the kitchen. Same wood paneling from the 80s, same ceramic rooster clock that never worked but still ticked somehow. She pulled out 2 glasses and poured heavy. "I never liked her," Jenny said, no warm-up. "You know that." "Yeah. But I didn't think she'd humiliate you like that. In public, at Parker's graduation." "She meant to. Every part of it." Jenny handed me a glass, leaned on the counter. "You should have seen the look on her face the day I saw her coming out of that hotel on 4th Street. Evan was right behind her, all smug and sweaty in his gym gear. She didn't even try to lie, just smiled like she was proud." I froze mid-sip. "When was this?" "Early spring. I didn't want to stir the pot unless I was sure." I set the glass down. "She'd already signed the lease by then." Jenny raised an eyebrow. "So you knew?" "Found the bank trail a couple months ago. Took me a minute to connect the dots." She stepped closer. "Why didn't you say anything?" I shrugged. "Didn't want sympathy, wanted leverage. If I'd blown up back then, she'd have buried the evidence. This way, I kept control." Jenny smirked, proud and sad at the same time. "I always knew you were stubborn, but damn, Doug, that was smart. Cold, but smart." I sat down at the kitchen table, ran my hands over my face. "You know what really messed me up? It wasn't even the cheating. It was the performance. She planned that moment, picked the restaurant, waited until the glasses were full, made sure all the neighbors were there." Jenny sat across from me, her voice lower now. "She wanted to shame you, wanted the upper hand." "Well, she can have Evan, and the upper hand. I've got court again in 3 days. Fraud hearing. Judge already ruled in favor of the freeze." Jenny nodded. "Then finish it. You've already won the part that matters." I heard my phone buzz from my jacket pocket. I pulled it out. "Parker." "Hey," I answered. He sounded tired. "You at Aunt Jenny's?" "Yeah, everything okay?" "I don't want to stay at the house anymore, not with her there." "You want me to come get you?" "Nah, I'll drive over in the morning. I'm not ready to talk to her." "You don't have to," I said. "Not yet." After we hung up, Jenny poured a second round and kicked her feet up on the chair beside her. "So," she said, "we getting pancakes or eggs in the morning?" I half smiled. "You choose. I'm just glad I'm not sleeping under the same roof as her." 3 days later, I sat in a cold courtroom under fluorescent lights while Rachel's overpriced lawyer, some smug guy named Blake we'd known since college, called me emotionally retaliatory. He actually said those words. Your Honor, this freeze isn't about protecting assets, it's revenge. My client has been denied access to funds she legally relied on. Mr. Armstrong is weaponizing the court system out of spite. I didn't even blink. I sat still in a cheap suit, hands folded, letting my guy handle it. My lawyer stood up, calm as ever. Let's talk about what's actually been weaponized. Your Honor, these are 6 separate withdrawals from the business account of Mr. Armstrong's brother, labeled under a non-existent vendor called Pioneer Logistics. He held up a stack of papers. We've matched each withdrawal to the account used to pay the security deposit and first 3 months' rent on a luxury apartment signed by Mrs. Armstrong and one Evan Miller, her known romantic partner. He slid the documents across to the judge. Emails, invoice records, Rachel's digital signature on the lease, all neatly labeled, time-stamped, sealed. Blake tried to object, something about context, but the judge waved him off. After flipping through the folder for a few minutes, the judge leaned back. Everything here supports the plaintiff's request to maintain the financial freeze. Additionally, I'm granting temporary sole possession of the primary residence to Mr. Armstrong. Mrs. Armstrong will vacate within 72 hours. Rachel didn't say a word. She just sat there, lips pressed into a thin line, digging her nails into the table like she could claw her way out of the ruling. Court adjourned. I stood, adjusted my collar, and walked out first. The second we stepped outside, I heard her behind me. "This is bullshit," Rachel hissed. "He's punishing me because I left." Evan grabbed her arm, tried to calm her down, but she shoved him off. "Don't touch me. I told you this would happen. You said we'd be fine." "Rachel," Evan mumbled, keeping his voice low, "maybe now's not the time." "Easy for you to say. You didn't just get cut off." She spun toward me like I owed her something. "You think you're going to win everything, don't you? You think this makes you the better person?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Rachel. I think this makes you accountable." She opened her mouth again, but Evan stepped between us. "Just get in the car." I watched them for a second longer, her pacing, him defeated, both of them realizing the foundation they built was already cracking. I didn't need to gloat. The silence was enough. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I stepped away and checked it. "Parker, proud of you. For real." I stared at that message for a second, thumb hovering. Then I texted back, "Thanks, kid." I looked up. Rachel was still ranting. Evan leaned against the car like he'd already mentally checked out. I could see it in his body language. He wasn't in this for the fallout. Let her yell. Let him squirm. I was done talking. The next few days felt like walking through mud while people tossed pebbles at my head. First call came from Scott, one of those neutral friends who always plays both sides. "Hey man, I don't want to get in the middle, but Rachel's saying you locked her out of everything. That true?" I kept my tone flat. "We're separating. It's complicated." "Yeah, but did you really freeze her accounts?" "We're separating," I repeated. "It's being handled." He didn't call back. Neither did the rest of them, after I gave the same answer 3 more times. Rachel was on a PR campaign, calling mutuals, painting herself as the wounded wife trapped in a loveless marriage, said I'd been controlling for years, that she wasn't allowed to have a life. Total spin. I didn't fight it. I didn't need to, because Evan had already started backing off. Jenny was the one who tipped me off. Guess who I saw at the juice bar on Main? Evan. With a woman in her 30s, brunette, wore leggings like they were painted on. Definitely not Rachel. "Client?" I asked. "Oh, I doubt they were discussing squats." Rachel must have realized it too, because that same night, she texted me 6 times. I didn't respond. She called twice, ignored. Then she showed up. I heard banging at the front door just after midnight. I'd already bolted the top lock, but she was yelling through it like I owed her something. "Open the damn door, Doug! I know you're in there!" I didn't answer. I stood in the hallway, phone in hand, listening. "This is your fault. You ruined everything. You humiliated me in court. You made Evan leave. He doesn't even talk to me anymore. You were never supposed to fight back." I dialed 911. Calm, direct. Reported a trespasser, my wife, legally ordered to stay off the property. She kept yelling even when the red and blue lights lit up the driveway. 2 officers stepped between us when I cracked the door open. Rachel was barefoot, mascara streaked, hair wild. She tried to push past them, but they held firm. "You want to press charges?" one of them asked me. I looked her in the eye. She looked nothing like the woman I married, just a ghost of herself, flailing. "No," I said. "I just want her gone." They walked her to the cruiser, sat her down while she cried into her knees. I closed the door, didn't watch them drive off. Next morning, I woke up to a quiet house and a mind that wouldn't shut off. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and started scribbling on a legal pad. Not plans for court, not divorce filings. Something different. I'd been tracking finances for my brother's company for over 10 years. I knew how money moved. I knew how people skimmed. I also knew half the contractors in town had no idea how to manage their books. Hell, some of them still kept receipts in shoeboxes. That's when it hit me. Why not turn this mess into something useful? Within a week, I built a basic website. Cash clear, fraud protection, and financial clarity for small trades. Nothing fancy, just a contact form, a bio, and a short write-up about what I did. I sent the link to a few guys I trusted, people I'd worked with back when I was still doing full-time builds. By the next afternoon, I had 4 emails asking for consultations. One guy owned a roofing outfit in Fairfield, said his accounts never matched his labor invoices. Another ran a home remodeling crew and found out his bookkeeper had been overbilling materials for years. They didn't want buzzwords. They wanted someone who spoke their language and didn't charge $300 an hour to explain it. That was me. Parker offered to help with the marketing side, said his internship at a local firm gave him just enough tools to build an actual client funnel. I let him handle the social media pages, and within days, we had 12 followers and 2 more leads. I told him, "I don't even know what a funnel is," and he laughed. "Doesn't matter, just keep doing what you do." Felt good, working side by side like that. No drama, no tension, just real time spent building something honest. Meanwhile, Rachel finally packed up and moved in with her parents. Evan had gone full ghost, blocked her on socials, never returned her calls, probably moved on to the next yoga mom with an inheritance and poor judgment. Jenny texted me. "She's back in her old room. Her dad looked like he aged 10 years just watching her unload the trunk." I didn't respond, nothing left to say. Instead, I called the bank and arranged a final payment on the second mortgage. The cash I'd saved while prepping for the fraud hearing gave me enough leverage to buy it out early. Signed the papers on a Wednesday morning, quiet, no ceremony. The house was mine, fully. That weekend, I cleared out the garage, tossed the old treadmill, donated Rachel's Pilates gear, sold a rusted-out lawnmower on Facebook Marketplace. Then I went to Home Depot and picked up drywall, insulation, a new light fixture, and a cheap desk. 3 weeks later, I had a full-blown office space tucked into the back half of the garage. Clean, wired, simple. Whiteboard on one wall, filing cabinets under the window, mini fridge for long nights. I didn't post about it, didn't show it off. But every time I stepped into that space, I felt something I hadn't in years. Total control. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending. Just me, my name on the deed, and a fresh start built on truth instead of bullshit. The courthouse was quiet that morning. Cold, gray sky, no drama, no crowd, which was fitting. 20 years to the day since we said, "I do." And there we were, signing the paperwork that cut it all in half. Except there wasn't much to split. The prenup held. The judge didn't even blink. Rachel sat across from me in a tan blazer, face tight, no makeup. Her lawyer did most of the talking, but it didn't matter. She left with her car, a personal account I never touched, and none of the property or retirement funds. No appeals. No loopholes. Done. She stood slowly, smoothed her sleeves, then looked at me like she wanted to rewind the whole thing. "Can't we just talk?" she asked, soft. "For Parker's sake?" I didn't even shift in my seat. "He's doing just fine." She didn't argue, didn't cry, just nodded once and walked out alone. I waited a beat, then grabbed my jacket and followed. Parker was already outside, leaning against my truck, scrolling his phone. Dressed sharp, collared shirt, clean shoes, haircut shorter than usual. When he saw me, he straightened up. "How'd it go?" "Official." He grinned, then clapped my shoulder. "Happy unanniversary, I guess." I laughed under my breath. Never thought I'd celebrate one. We crossed the street toward the diner on the corner, the one we used to go to after football practice. I held the door open for him, Before we sat, he looked at me. Really looked. You didn't just dodge a bullet, he said. You built your own shield. That one hit deeper than he knew. Yeah, I said, and it's finally quiet around here. Right then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Text from an old roofing client. Hey man, got your name from Dave. Need help figuring out where our cash flow's bleeding. You available this week? I slid the phone back in my pocket. Another client? Parker asked. Looks like it. He smiled. Told you. Should have started this thing years ago. Maybe, but I started it right on time.